Grand Rising. It's another session with the Kingdom of Canada's ministers, and I'm very happy to be here today. And I will introduce our guests for today a little bit later. So first, I'd like to say Grand Rising to Her Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Digilo, and Grand Rising to Her Excellency, Darlene Ondy, who is our Press Secretary and Acting Chief of Staff. Grand Rising to my fellow ministers and deputy ministers. Grand Rising to everyone who is present with us and who is online joining us today from around the Kingdom of Canada and around the world. Today is Monday, August the 5th, 2024, and it's a beautiful day in the Kingdom of Canada and around the world. I am alive. I am Her Excellency, Wendy Charlton. I'm the Minister of Well, appointed by Her Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Digilo, and I'm also appointed as Deputy Press Secretary. I'm very proud and honored to have been appointed. This is a great privilege for me, and along with this great privilege comes great responsibility. I am here for the I Ams of the Kingdom of Canada and around the world. And I'd like to welcome all of the I Ams that are in the Kingdom of Canada. Welcome to the VIPs of the VIPs. The VIPs are our children. They are most important. They are our future. And this is part of our discussion today that I will be having. And we also welcome our ancestors. Without our ancestors, we would not be here today. They have brought us into Her Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Digilo's timeline and the new era, which we are in right now. So I'd like to welcome our honored guests who are watching online. We have heads of state, presidents, prime ministers, crown princes, crown princesses, majesties, kings and queens, emperors and empresses. And welcome to all of the 7 continents of the North and South America, Africa, Asia, Australia, Eurasia, and the Middle East and Antarctica. Welcome to all the ministers, the provincial and the city coordinators. And today it will be my privilege and honor to introduce to you Her Excellency Sara-marie Thompson, who is the Minister of Children and Youth. And before I let her take over for the rest of the session, I would like to repeat my oath and my to-do list and a very important Royal Decree number 235 that you can find under www.thekingdomofcanada.ca. These royal decrees are in excess of 235, and they are all under natural law and by Her Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Digilo. These will, my oath and my to-do list and this royal decree will be very important for our session today. So I feel that is why I would like to repeat it to the I Ams in the Kingdom of Canada and around the world. This was my oath that I did on March the 17th of this year, and I will repeat it now. I am Her Excellency Wendy Charlton, swear by benevolent Grand Master Creator to be loyal to the Kingdom of Canada's nationals, the Kingdom of Canada, and Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Digelo, not to divulge any of the state secrets, to maintain the interests and regulations internally and externally, and to perform my duties with honor, honesty, integrity, and sincerity. And as the Minister of Well, this is my to-do list. 1. Harm not we the people of the Kingdom of Canada. Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Digelo and we the people around the world and the Kingdom of Canada. 2. Every Canadian national family must have access to a celestial healing chamber, in other words, a med bed. 3. All ambulances will be outfitted for a mobile med bed. 4. Every peace, prosperity, and love officers detachment, community centers, municipal, provincial, and territorial public buildings must have med beds. And 5, ensure publicly owned transportation such as the maglev trains, which have been discussed before with Her Excellency Deputy Minister of Suppressed Technology, Joanna Lee Rucci. She explained about the maglev trains, and it's very exciting for the Kingdom of Canada. The trains, the planes, the ships, the ferries have all med beds on board. That is my to-do list. And now I would like to reread this Royal Decree number 235, which I read to the IAMs of the Kingdom of Canada last week and around the world. July 23, 2024, in the Kingdom of Canada. Notice to one is notice to all. Royal Decree number 000000235. 1. The Kingdom of Canada's Armed Forces. 2. The Kingdom of Canada's Special Forces. 3. The Kingdom of Canada's Navy. 4. The Kingdom of Canada's Space Force. 5. The Kingdom of Canada's Special Ops. 6. We the people of the Kingdom of Canada. 7. Bureau/Ministry of Natural Resources of the Kingdom of Canada. 8. Bureau/Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Canada. 9. Bureau/Ministry of National Treasury of the Kingdom of Canada. 10. Bureau/Ministry of Oil and Gas of the Kingdom of Canada. 11. Bureau/Ministry of National Defense of the Kingdom of Canada. 12. Global Allied Forces, Special Forces in the Kingdom of Canada. 13. Bureau/Ministry of Finance of the Kingdom of Canada. 14. The Supreme Court and Royal Court of the Kingdom of Canada under natural law. That's what all of our royal decrees are, under natural law. Urgent and urgent. Safety, security, and sovereignty of the Kingdom of Canada. A. Nationalization of all hospitals in the Kingdom of Canada. B. Free of charge. Access and usage of med beds, in brackets celestial healing chambers, in the Kingdom of Canada, free to all of Kingdom of Canada's nationals only. C. Access and usage of med beds in the Kingdom of Canada is for Canadian nationals only. D, funding of the medbeds or celestial chambers comes directly from the Ministry of Well, which is myself, and in brackets, the old system was called Health. I am Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Digelo, Commander-in-Chief, President, National Indigenous Chief and Queen of the Kingdom of Canada, hereby issue this royal decree dated today, July 23, 2024, to all Kingdom of Canada and Global Special Allied Forces and respective ministries to action forthwith this royal decree as specified herein under natural law. 1. Forthwith, all hospitals in the Kingdom of Canada are hereby nationalized, effective immediately, inclusive any and all private and or semi-private hospitals, private healthcare facilities in the Kingdom of Canada. 2. Forthwith, all hospitals, inclusive any and all private or semi-private hospitals / private healthcare facilities in the Kingdom of Canada are to A. Undergo independent forensic financial audits. B. Dissolve all of its boards and executive boards. C. Dissolve all of the foundations. D. Dissolve all of its executive management, including middle management and management support staff, are effectively defunded. Her Royal Majesty, I am Queen Romana of the Kingdom of Canada. 3. Forthwith, all hospital buildings and facilities are exclusively used for medbeds or celestial healing chambers, funded by we the people across the Kingdom of Canada. Refer to the royal decrees, medbeds, in brackets, celestial healing chambers, funding released by Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Digelo. 4. Forthwith, all hospitals personnel, which is doctors, nurses, lab techs, etc., who have received training from the medical school system previously in the old system, also known as the Rockefeller UN education system, are prohibited from working at any and all medbed, in brackets, celestial healing chamber facilities until they have been trained on the new medbeds / celestial healing chamber technologies. 5. Forthwith, medical school system education and training, also known as the Rockefeller United Nations Educational System, pharmaceutical medical credentials are null and void and prohibited from being used as basis for hiring, recruiting, or retaining of medbed, in brackets, celestial healing chamber facility personnel. 6. Forthwith, access and usage of the medbeds, in brackets, celestial healing chambers, are free of charge to all Canadian nationals only in the Kingdom of Canada. 7. Forthwith, access to and usage of the medbeds are to be deployed and dispensed based on the most critical, in brackets, given first priority to the least critical stage, the least priority, regardless of age or location. So what that really means is that the most critical will go first, the least critical will go last. No one will be left behind. 8, forthwith, action the above directives and complete full transition from pharmaceutical systems to the med beds or celestial healing chamber system in the place and in operation of all Kingdom of Canada's hospitals on or before November the 5th, 2024. It's so exciting.
It's very exciting.
Excuse me, I'm getting pretty emotional. I'm just going to take a moment here.
We truly are so blessed, right?
The violators of this royal decree shall be charged with economic sabotage, treason, high treason, artificial creation of famine, financial fraud, corruption, bribery, murder, and money laundering. This royal decree is effective immediately, and so it is. Peace, prosperity, and love. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Her Excellency, Sara-marie Thompson, who is our Minister of Children and Youth. And before we continue on, I think I'll keep my Kleenex with me and I'll have a little drink of water here. So,
yes, full disclosure, everybody should have Kleenex on them. This is a very heartfelt, very emotional time for all the IAMs in the Kingdom of Canada, because we all feel so wholeheartedly to protect all the children and youth of the Kingdom of Canada. And I like to start with reading my oath and then explain what my ministry is all about.
yes, thank you very much.
Okay. I am Her Excellency Sara-marie Thompson, swear by the benevolent Master Creator to be loyal to the Kingdom of Canada nationals, the Kingdom of Canada, and Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Dilio, not to divulge any of the state secrets, to maintain its interest and regulations internationally and externally, to perform my duties with honor, honesty, integrity, and sincerity. As a Minister of Child and Youth, 1, I harm not we the people of the Kingdom of Canada, the Kingdom of Canada, Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Dilio, and we the people of the world. Number 2, every baby boy and every baby girl from the ages of 0 to 19 years old are home educated and provided for with all things they required for learning. Number 3, every baby boy, baby girl from the age of 0 to 19 years has a home, are living in with their bloodline. Number 4, orphans. Baby boy and baby girl has a home, living with their next of bloodline and home educator. Adoption children granted only to the family bloodline living within the Kingdom of Canada. In the Kingdom of Canada, the children will not be allowed to leave the Kingdom of Canada and have to stay there for till the age of 24. And so it is, and so it is.
So it is. So let's just go through your to-do list. What does that mean for you?
It means a lot, actually.
Yes.
So my first ministry is the harm not we the people of the Kingdom of Canada, Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana, and we the people of the world. And that to me is the royal decree number 1 with race theory. I find that everybody in the Kingdom of Canada was so divided by anything that they could possibly think of.
So that royal decree is number
1.
Number 1, and they will find that under
the Kingdom of Canada.com.
.ca.
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 Yep.
and all under natural law.
All under natural law.
Okay.
So I suggest you get a pen and paper and write down all the royal decrees and read them for yourselves and actually feel what Queen Romana has actually said in all these royal decrees and how corrupt the old corporation was. We the people have no idea how enslaved and how manipulated and controlled and brainwashed we were. And we were slaves, and hardly anybody can even think, well, I go to work every day, you know, my kids go to school, I have the freedom to go on holidays, and they don't realize that that was actually them being slaves.
And we were happy.
We were happy to be slaves, and we didn't know it. And that is the most shocker of it all, like paying taxes and paying bills. And, you know, we were gifted this kingdom of Canada from our creator, and they took it away from us and made us have to pay to live here.
And so that's also a royal decree about we are all Indigenous. What number is that one?
That is number 223.
223. We are all Indigenous. Everything was
Yeah.
here before we got here. And it wasn't for just the select.
No, it was
few.
never for the select few. It was for all Homo sapiens.
And when we actually find that out, it's just shocking that we lived under that.
Right.
To think that we weren't in the special few to have everything for ourselves.
And from the ages of 3 to 6 months old, people were taking their children to daycare centers. You know, they were separating the family bond with the parents, and it was able to indoctrinate them even more and put their ideology into these poor children, and to raise them up into their system. Like, you know what, you need to go to bed at a certain time, you need to eat at a certain time, you need to go to work and get up, and you're not fulfilling who you are unless you have a great job, unless you have a title. And no one really could feel, everybody was always feeling depressed or never good enough, or something was wrong with them, because they never actually knew who they were as an individual. And this is what we really need to instill in our children, like how special, how royal, and how important they really are, and they're little princesses and princes.
They are. And the moment that they're born, they're given injections and blood tests. And then when they're 3 months old, they start their vaccination process. And we, as the parents, believed that it was the best for our children to protect them from diseases. And how wrong we really were to believe that.
It's not only that we were wrong, it was that we were misled in so many things. And it's not just us as parents or our grandparents, it was our grandparents' grandparents. Like, you know, they were, this brainwashing has been going on for a very, very, very long time. And we've been slaves for over 300,000 years. This is not just something that has just happened in the last 200 years.
No, it's not.
And, you know, we are finally acknowledging with Queen Romana de Leo's grace and love for us, her unconditional love for us and all the children of the world, that we are able to be strong enough and able to stand up and see what was so wrongly done to us, and have the strength and the power to protect these children. Because before, we had no idea. We knew that sending them to school, and, like, you know, you get a phone call from a teacher and they would say, oh, well, your child was misbehaving, or like they would really put the child down for having an emotion, and not teaching them how to deal with their emotions, how to deal with the stress. And they're not trained to be sitting at a desk 24/7. Like, you know, at the whole, it was like 8 hours or more a day sitting in a desk. A child, like, they're supposed to be outside playing and enjoying life and finding out who they are as individuals, and really connecting to their soul contract, and being locked up into a jail, a concentration camp, and teaching them that you need to sit down. And then they would medicate them with all sorts of horrible chemicals
And put labels on them.
and tell them that it was their fault. Meanwhile, they were the corporation was the one that was injecting them full of poison.
Right?
And because you're the Ministry of Health, you know all about the poisons that they have put into our bodies.
And yes, I must correct you, though. I'm the Minister of Wealth.
Well, sorry,
We're
yes.
not- that was the old
Yeah,
system. We're
Yes,
in
true.
the new era
Mhm.
under Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana Digelo's timeline.
Yes.
And I am alive,
grateful.
and I am so grateful.
Mhm.
So with our VIPs indoctrinated, and from a very young age of
Mhm.
kindergarten, what, 5, 6 years old?
You get 3 years
Oh,
old.
they have-
Junior
they-
kindergarten can be
Oh, yes.
3 years old.
They have started that, right?
So it's full days at 3 years old. They have rest time, but no naps. And I mean, most children at 3 years old still need their afternoon nap because they, like, you know, they're still learning and growing and becoming, you know, they need that time because their bodies inside them are always moving way more faster than ours. Like their blood and everything else is moving so much quicker, so that they need that rest time in between each time they're awake.
And they're so full of energy and wonder, and to be put in a desk and have to sit there. And some of the children that are from the rural areas, I know from looking after my great nephews and nieces, they would be on those yellow buses at 7:15 and not arrive back home until 3:45. So how long of a day is that for a
'Cause
5
sometimes
or
even-
6-year-old?
Yeah, sometimes even 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they wouldn't be home, like right at dinner time. And then the parents would put them into hockey or to soccer or to football or whatever it is, after school activities. And they would be in like 5 different activities. So constantly they're losing the bond. It's okay to put your children in after school activities, but you're missing all the valuable time with our children. And they programmed us to believe that they needed to have social lives. They needed to be away from us constantly. But meanwhile, they are getting taught values, and they are getting taught by everybody else, the whole system besides their family. And it's very, very important, and for the family to raise these children, the mothers and the fathers,
In this rat race.
right?
But no more.
No more.
This is the new era. That
Mhm.
rat race, old system is done. Our VIPs will be able to excel with their gifts and not be held back and put labels on so that they feel bad, that they are able to feel how other children feel, or be able to have compassion, and to put labels on them and call them different names about having feelings.
Right.
And especially with our masculine VIPs that are very sensitive and feel and do cry emotionally.
Like it's more stronger and more healthier for a grown man to cry than it is to suck it up and say, oh, I'm a man, I don't cry, because you're missing the whole joy of every single emotion that every person is received and blessed with by our Creator. Like, we are the most emotional beings that ever existed, and every emotion is so important. And if we can't feel them or express them, we're not truly who we are supposed to be.
We're not authentic if we don't let our emotions show. Like, there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with crying. I cry all the time.
It's a sign of release.
It is, and it's
Right?
and it's good because you release and then you can move forward. But if you don't release, you're not going to move forward.
No, and then that's when you have all your emotional baggage, and then you have, like, we have to deal with all the anxieties and PTSD, and because most children today have PTSD, and because they're trapped in a prison and they cannot express who they are, so they feel that something is wrong with them, and then they play on that. And they play on them, and they play on them, and they play on them to program them. So they're always held back from being who they can truly be. So in the Kingdom of Canada, Queen Romana is making sure that every baby boy and baby girl is free to have everything that they need, everything. So even their desires will be met. So it's like, if they want to be an astronaut or go up into space and learn how to do an aircraft, I know as a mother, I wouldn't know nothing about that. But, you know, there's many people out there that would be able to offer that too,
Well, you don't need to know anything about it, because we're going to have holodeck,
right?
where you can do and learn everything that you want to ever learn, like us too.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something that you need to learn about, you can just go in there and learn about it.
Right.
And of course, once we go through the med beds and our DNA is restored, can you just imagine what our alive life will be?
Right. We'll have all of our Akashic records, and everything that we need to know will be there.
It's too exciting for me to even think about it right now.
Right, it really is. So no more indoctrinational schools.
No.
We're going to be very, very blessed to have the homeschooling.
The home education program. And I had Her Excellency Mary Lena Raitt on 2 weeks ago, and we had the most wonderful discussion about home education. And she's the Minister of Home Education. Mm-hmm. And we went into great detail of how our VIPs will be able to excel with their gifts. And it's just going to be so, I'm trying to put it into words, for a child to be able to believe that they can do what they really want to do.
Right. And to know what that is, because they're so programmed to say, oh, well, you're going to be a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer, how, like, you know, or a fireman. You know, when you ask a child, what are they going to be when they grow up? They don't really like, you know, I have options, because when they're so programmed that they don't have options, they're only programmed that these are the titles that you're supposed to be. But now, hokey doodle, there's like so many things. So many things.
Back in my day, there was 2 options for a feminine. You were either going to be a nurse or you're going to be a teacher. And I am so grateful that I am a nurse, because I have come up through the old system right up into now as the Minister of Well. All of my experiences, everything that I witnessed, everything that I learned, everything that I know about the Homo sapien body will be very beneficial to me, because I will be able to identify different things. For, you know, just for example, we may have an IM that's a little bit uncomfortable about the med bed, so an explanation may help. So I'm just grateful for everything that I've been through to arrive here alive at this time.
Right? We are so blessed to be here right now and to witness all this and have front row seats. That's what I always say. We have front row seats. I love it. So I just wanted to refer back to number 223, Royal Decree, number 223. And I just want to read just the headline so we can truly feel and understand what that means. Okay, so all live Homo sapiens, living, breathing, blood-flowing Canadian nationals. Baby girl, baby boy, lady, man, born this planet Earth are to be known as Indigenous, forthwith, entitled equal shares to all natural resources found in the Kingdom of Canada, exceptions to robots, artificial intelligence, machines, and clones. So that is a loaded, because with the critical race theory, everybody thought that they were divided and individually slaved or individually hurt in certain ways on this native land. And we are all Indigenous across the whole entire world.
And we are all equal.
We are all equal. Like we might be all unique, but we are all equal. And we really, really need to learn how to not have our egos and to judge people. And, you know, like in schools, they were indoctrinating children, like you have to wear this clothes. And if you weren't cool enough, if you weren't wearing a brand name, or, you know, they were mocking them because of, and they were taught at a very, very young age that you were never good enough. And
But-
you were never, and everybody was like, well, you don't know what I've been through. Well, every single Homo sapien has been through something.
And that was all by design.
Mm-hmm.
That old system was designed back in the 1950s to destroy
Mm-hmm.
the family unit, because
Mhm.
once you destroy the family unit, then you can take over. So that's when everything cost more, and the family unit wasn't the father went out to work and the mother stayed at home to nurture the children.
Mm-hmm.
And the mothers were also made to feel that they weren't good enough because they couldn't keep up with the Joneses, because they stayed at home and baked bread and
Mm-hmm.
sewed their clothes for their kids. So the children, VIPs, sorry, kids are goats. I must learn my words.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
and to make them feel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we had problems in the family unit.
Mm-hmm.
Problems led to different outlets, like, you know, I'm not going to bring up anything about alcoholism or anything like that. That's all going to be, that was the old system.
Yeah.
Where people IAMs didn't feel adequate, so they turned to something else to make them feel
Substance.
better.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, now with the new era, the family unit will be restored,
Mm-hmm.
and the mother and the father together will nurture the child and bring out their best.
Because with our angelic bloodline, that each family, every single family is so unique and has so many values and so many things to offer the Kingdom of Canada, and so many talents. But when all those talents were hidden, we weren't able to evolve or actually be more creative, and they were stuffing our creativity. And so we couldn't actually create things. And that is one of the most, because all Homo sapiens are creative. And so many people are like, well, I don't know how to draw. But if you actually sat there and started practicing, everybody can draw.
Everybody can draw. And it may not be the best picture,
picture.
but it could be 4 or 5 different lines, and who cares?
Right.
We're drawing.
Right. And that's where we get our creativity out. And it brings us up into a spot where we can connect to our divine creator, because we are all connected. So it's very, very important. Even if you were just to get a paintbrush, even if it just looks like a scribbly old line, you're starting to break free from the matrix and break free from what they enslaved us to be. And it was trying to hide us as much as we could, because they took out music in the schools. They took out art in the schools. They took out everything, because they did not want the children to be creative, and they wanted them to be slaves and not feel who they truly are.
Absolutely. So with the natural resources,
Mm-hmm.
we as Indigenous, all of that belongs to us.
All of it.
All of it, which we always thought it belonged to the select few. So with the royal decree that we are all Indigenous, that means that we will receive royalty checks.
Mm-hmm.
So that ends the having to have 4 jobs to keep your family unit. You will be able to provide everything that you need. And with the home education system, mothers or fathers can stay at home and do the education system with their child. And the most important thing is for the VIPs is that they will learn the royal decrees under natural law from a very early age. And that will be suggested as a learning tool for our VIPs, so they know who they are and where they're going.
Right? It's it's very exciting, that part of it. Like, when we think about what they've gone through, and you're like, it's very heartbreaking. And then when we see what Queer Mana has provided for all of us Homo sapiens and the children, and given everything back to us, we are beyond blissed and grateful for everything Queer Mana has done for us, and to share the natural law, and to truly teach us who we were supposed to be, and what the all the royal decrees mean to us, because every single royal decree is to stop the suppression, because they suppressed who we were supposed to be. So now we can evolve and actually grow within, and we are the adults now. We are not the children that endure that. It's like, we are the adults, and we realize, okay, you know what? That is enough. Our children's children will never, ever, for eternity, ever go through that. And this is why we are here today to do this.
And we, as I ams alive today, should be feeling very grateful and flip the old system into a positive for the new era that we're in now. And if we didn't endure what we did, we wouldn't know that we will never let that happen again. Because if you don't know, how would you know to stop it?
Yeah, it's true. Because unless you feel something acutely, there is no way that you're going to be able to stop it. Because we had to go through that to be able to say, like, no more. No, like none. Like, to know every aspect. And even though today that people are still hurting and going through a lot of stuff, but we see that we are now in Queer Mana's timeline, and we are so blessed that we can leave all of that corporation behind us. And we are actually not straw man anymore. We are I ams. And that is the most powerful thing that we can possibly say, is I am.
So with that being said, I know we probably don't want to go into the straw man, but because that could take us a whole day.
Yes.
But to be grateful that we have gone through what we have, to appreciate and never let it happen again, and know that all the natural resources belong to us, because we're all Indigenous, and there will be no more lack. We are in the new era. We are under Queen Romana's timeline.
And we can't stress that enough.
And that's right. And
like,
that's why I keep
no
saying
doubt, no nothing. Like, we are here.
We are here.
Yeah.
And we are experiencing it. So the best thing to do is flip it over to a positive, and inform our I ams of what was and what is and what will never happen again.
So that's why I want to bring into number 2 of my every baby boy, every baby girl from the ages of 0 to 19 years old are home educated and provided for with all things they require to learning. And we've already mentioned a few of these things, but there's some royal decrees that I just want to touch on, and then we'll discuss them. So number 140, homeschooling funds, very, very important. Number 2, sex education. Number 3, age of consent. Number 4, age of marriage. Number 124, pornography, content, sexual abuse of children, and bestiality. Number 196, protection of baby boy, girl with using social media. And these ones I find are very important for our home education, to teach our children, because number 40, homeschooling funds. Well, everybody's saying that it's so hard to live with one income, right? It's very difficult to live with one income, and to be a stay-at-home mom and to raise your children, or a stay-at-home dad to raise your children. And Queer Mana understands that. Like, she really understands what we, the people, I ams, really, really need.
So if we would program ourselves just to need the basics, which is the foundation is love.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to keep up with the Joneses. And myself, as a career working mother, if I stop and I sit down and I calculate
Mm-hmm.
how much I spent to be away from my children,
Mm-hmm.
it's more than $5,000 a month.
Yeah, it really
So
is.
how could you possibly not think that that was the best way to do it? But we were indoctrinated.
That this, because they need the social skills. Okay, so what that was all about was to teach them that they need to learn from their peers and not their true family bloodline. So when they're learning from their peers and people in school, they're collecting all bad habits, and they're whatever is the social media is telling them that they need to learn. That's why Queen Romana has also put the 196 of protecting for social media, for protecting the baby girls and baby boys from what's there, because even if they played a little game that was like PG, then they would have an ad pop up that was X-rated type of thing, and it was disgusting. And in this whole thing, and they put it in programming, so like in the movies, in the cartoons that they were watching, they hid it in everything. So parents really had no ability, unless you put your children in a little box in the middle of the woods, to protect them from the society that was going on until Queen Romana came.
But what they were really doing to our VIPs were desensitizing them,
Mm-hmm.
so that as they grew older, that it was just a normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the books that they have in the schools now. I'm not sure if you know about some of the books, but I do know that there is one where it's okay to sleep with Uncle Ted.
Yeah.
You know, when my great nieces and nephews told me about this book that was in the library, I just couldn't believe it.
Or it's okay for a child to use a kitty litter box in a bathroom.
Yes.
Like, I don't know where, like, they were very, very evil to do this to all of us and to our children. And we know, because we notice it, we have to stand up. We have to say no more, even if it is the hardest thing to do, because I know people that can work their 2 jobs and still homeschool their children, or home educate their children, sorry. And I mean, the parents do different shifts.
Yes.
And then they take their turns of raising their children throughout the day. So, I mean, wherever there's a means, like, I mean, some people have cut all their bills in half just to be able to be home educating, because they were not going to indoctrinate their children into this corruption anymore. Because when we truly understand how evil school is, no one will want their children to go there because of who created it.
And so another thing about when you register them, you're turning them over.
Yeah, as soon as those children are on their soil, many people don't know that. Many people don't know
they don't.
That as soon as you signed up your children to the school education, you have given them all your rights. No parent has rights to their children. They rent. Parents.
And it's the same as the hospital. When you go in and you sign that registration and sign on the dotted line, you are saying whatever treatment you believe is good for me, then you have no choice to say, no, I'm not having it. You've already signed.
That's wild, eh? Like, they didn't want us to have any freedom, any rights, any individuality.
But did we ever read the fine print?
No, never.
Because we were indoctrinated to think that every corporation system that was there was for our benefit,
right?
Not to destroy us.
It's wild to think that and even now, when people are like, well, I know that it's the health kill system, right?
Yes.
It's not the well system, but then they get sick and they're like, oh, well, I have to wait for my doctor, even though that I know this is going to help me. I have to wait because we were so programmed to believe that they're there to help us and protect us. But meanwhile, they are a corporation and they are making money. And same with the schools, they're corporations, they are making money. You know, every child makes them money, and they use all of our inheritance to fund everything that they do to turn us into slaves.
And the pharmacists are there to turn us into a drug slave.
Right?
They're no better than a drug dealer out on the street. And the doctor will, let's just, for example, you go in and you have an operation and your doctor puts you on a pain medication, let's say oxycodone or whatever. You're not told that if you're on that any longer than 5 days, you're basically addicted.
Right.
So when you go home and you have pain, you take your medication and then you have a repeat or 2 repeats on it. Well, by that time, you're totally addicted.
And then these people have children. You know, and these people have, that's why we have our well centers now, that we're going to have these, so that even the families that were trapped in that system to be constantly drugged and constantly like searching for like the alcoholism and the drug abuse and everything else. And you know, it's our children that are suffering the most through all of this. So once we have our well centers, the children can go with their parents, and they don't have to worry about leaving anybody behind. And not because with the old system, they would rip the children away, and they did this all by design.
It was all by design.
To really destroy the family, to the whole core of who we are, is a really, it's so important as a family unit to not be separated from our children, to raise our children to be who we are, and so that we can give back constantly to everything. And you know, and they wanted our children to learn about sex ed at a very young age. And so they wanted to corrupt their brains and to make them feel that they are a piece of meat and are not an actual spiritual being. And, you know, this is, a lot of people say, this is our meat sack, you know?
Yes, that's right. But that's also desensitization for the children.
Right. And
so that they think it's normal.
It's normal to go up and to wear short shorts and to wear croc tops or whatever,
and call them,
or I don't know what, to show every piece of your skin. And basically you might as well walk outside naked. Like, you know, like I've been raised my whole life to be covered from, you know, the shoulder to the knee. And I raised my children the same way, that our bodies are temples, and we need to respect who we are as human beings, or Homo sapiens. And yes. We need to really truly teach that to our children, and not desensitize them or make them, because this is what's making them feel like they're 50 different other things besides a Homo sapien, besides a boy or a girl. You know, and it blows my mind.
It's very hard on the VIPs to feel that they're not as good as their peers,
because they're always competing,
and so that causes them to probably do things just to fit in. And when they do things to fit in, it's basically not good for them. But they just want to fit in. They're not taught to be leaders. No, they're taught to follow.
Yeah. And we are all leaders. We are all creators. We are the most important, but because of the cackerstocracy in the higher ups, they tried to dummy us down when they all needed us to create their world. So that's why they made these indoctrination systems, so we could create this for them.
Yes.
And we aren't creating our own. So as soon as we realize that we individually have the power, and so when we teach our children that they have the power at a very young age, they don't have all the baggage we did to go through, right? Right. So
a big suitcase
to unload. But I mean, they are already there. So once they start realizing who they are, all of this will be so powerful and so beautiful. The purity and being able to, it's my nephew. He's such a little cutie, and he's such the biggest heart in the whole entire world. And
Don't you have a new nephew?
I do have a brand new nephew that was just born yesterday.
Oh, how awesome is that?
Right, my family's growing and growing, and to be able to be the children and youth representative.
Wow.
I feel very blessed because I have a huge family.
Does the new nephew have a name yet?
Hudson.
Hudson. Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we got a Hudson baby. So, this is why, not only for my children, but for all the children. And I see, I really care deeply about the children and what they're educating. And I remember when the new sex ed curriculum came out, I was like, no way are you teaching these children this. I was protesting. I was at the MP's office. I was like, no, you can't he was a pedophilia. He was charged literally, and he is teaching all the children in every single school right now their sex education and grooming them for pedophilia. Yeah. And that's why they have changed their clothes. And this is why it's so important why Queen Romana put Royal Decree number 3, age of consent.
Age of consent.
And then number 4, age of marriage. And everybody's thinking 24. And I'm just like, to myself, I'm just like, it should be 30. But really, I mean, if we're going to live for a lot longer than 100 years, we are children. We are all children of the Creator. Mm-hmm. And we are very sacred. And to think that anybody under the age of 24, if they were ever hurt or victimized or raped or anything, that they will be protected. They are, because the system now is to protect the victim, or not the victim, the predator, and not the victim. So right. The system is to protect them. So if they get a slap on the hand.
But with saying that, when the IMs feel that they are the victim, then they have control of them, because with them feeling as a victim, they're looking for drugs or anything else that would help them feel better, so they have more control to make them feel like they are a victim.
So with the age of consent and marriage changed to 24, it's not, Queen Romana is not telling people that with natural law is that we are in control of how you, what you do with your life. No, we are there to, Queen Romana is there to protect people. So with the royal decree being 24, because before it was 10, so they only got a slap on the hand, and meanwhile, these teenagers are suffering and in child trafficking, and they're still children. I'm like, our minds are not even fully grown until we're over 25.
That's correct.
So, these are children. If we're not fully grown until 25, we are still children. And when we actually realize that these children are not sex objects, they are beautiful, angelic, spiritual beings, and they're purest of pure. They deserve to be treated with love and respect and understanding, that we can raise them up like this. Oh, our new era is going to be,
well, it's here, and it's beautiful. But I just want to say one about the age of consent. Yes, there is 24. I had an IM that asked me, well, I don't really think that's fair that you can't get married till you're 24, and why would that even be there? I said, well, there are older IMs that marry very young IMs. I'm not saying masculine or feminine, and it's for the purpose of trafficking. Well, it was like the light bulb went on, because he never even thought about that.
And grooming.
And grooming. And with the parental consent of the IM that is an underage, because they were probably in it. So once that was clarified, oh, well, that was good. But sometimes we have to clarify what this means to the IMs, because if you don't know what it clarifies, you don't know.
Yeah. And the children really suffered with all of the child trafficking, didn't they? When we, because, you know, I knew for a long time that there was trafficking with children and adults and everything else. But I honestly didn't know about adrenochrome. And that was even in our science tablet that we were learning in school, adrenochrome. The code is right there. But because we were never actually taught what it was, we had no idea that they were actually hurting children. And
so maybe you would like to explain adrenochrome to the IMs. Maybe there's some IMs that are not quite sure what adrenochrome is.
it's the worst of the worst. Is basically they would torture these children in fear to the max, so that they would their blood would create, basically for them, a fountain of youth, and they would use it as a drug for them to keep their youth. Like, and if you ever looked at an actress or an actor and think, man, they're 75 years old and they don't have a wrinkle, and you're thinking, how is that even possible? So yeah, I want
And
you
why
to,
can't I be like that?
right? And we are always trying to compete with all these people. And if you really think about how many actors have you thought, whoa, they look young, how many of them do you believe that actually has taken part in all of this?
Well, now that we know what we know that they all have.
Yeah, every single one of them.
And it's the most sought after
Mm-hmm.
drug that there is. And that's why our VIPs are being kidnapped
Mm-hmm.
and used for that purpose. And our young feminine VIPs are used for that purpose, but also as a breeding stock.
Mm-hmm. And I want you to really think about the children underground in cages. They were all in cages. They weren't fed 3 meals a day. They weren't treated with respect of any kind. And
No.
over 50,000 children in the Kingdom of Canada are kidnapped a year.
So,
And
just think about that, 50,000.
mm-hmm.
Divide that up by each province. Which province has the most?
BC,
British Columbia.
British Columbia has the most children that are go missing. And Canada has the largest.
The Kingdom of Canada.
The Kingdom of Canada has the largest factory for adrenochrome.
Really?
In the world.
I know that there was one factory on the island, and it had a storefront of a vaping factory. So they disguised the factories and made something that people needed, IMs needed, like when they quit smoking and vaping, and that they could go there to this shop and get all these different flavors of vapes, but they did not know what was underground and what was behind.
Right? Because they mask it all. It's wild what they had to go
so
through.
the vaping, I just want to expand a little bit more on that. So before the big COVID, it was announced that it was a respiratory ailment, correct?
Great.
So the IMs were encouraged to quit smoking. So that was all by design also, because the pharmacists were handing out free patches and nicotine pens and whatever. So that was a money maker for them, so that they could also have these vaping factories to be a front for the adrenochrome,
right?
And also they knew that nicotine would block the spike proteins. So it was all by design. And most IMs were so excited because it was free.
Right.
And like free donuts and free French fries. So the society is driven by free.
Right.
But this is a different era, and free means free everything for us from our natural resources. So we've gone from the old system to the new system. And I can't stress that enough, that this is Queen Romana's timeline. And this is the new era. And all of these royal decrees are under natural law, and they are covering everything that we need to know. And if you look at the binders that people, IMs have made, like myself, my binders are huge, but to go through them and read them all is pure education.
Right. And that's what Her Excellency Mary said about education, that was one of our things that we were going to teach the children, is to read all the royal decrees, and as a family too, because they're very important to know that what we have come from and where we are now, because those royal decrees stop everything that was so indoctrinating and so kakistocracy and bringing this forthwith to all Homo sapiens.
And I'm glad that you can say that word so freely, because it's not, I'm not too freely with that word. I say you practice, but
practice a lot.
And so, and with the royal decrees and teaching our VIPs, it's great to teach them in layman's terms, explain to them what it means and why it's there and what we use it for and how it changes from before until now, so that because they haven't been through what we've been through. And they are moving into, well, with the suppressed technology. Could you imagine what the VIPs are going to be doing?
Oh.
Can you imagine what they're going to invent?
Right? Oh, wow. It's an amazing time to be alive and living in Queen Romana's timeline, because we truly are so blessed, and the children are going to experience and are experiencing a life that we couldn't even have dreamed of for them.
Like a flying car, but we watched the Jetsons, right?
Yeah.
And that was just like a cartoon, but it's reality.
Right. And I used to love watching like Star Wars and Star Trek, and I was quite the geek about all that stuff. And it was our inner knowing calling us to what we already knew that was there. But that's why it was so thrilling and so exciting and so like, oh yeah, we need to drive in a spaceship.
And that's why they made movies of all of those different suppressed technologies, like Alyssum is about med beds.
And it was just to show us that, oh, well, this is all sci-fi. This isn't real. Like, they were trying to tell us that these things weren't, but they had to tell us the truth, but cover it up with that, or it's a sci-fi, or that it's a conspiracy, or, they never wanted us to know the truth, the full truth. And Queen Romana is disclosing everything to us in her history. This is her history.
Yes.
And it is the most profound and the most real. And we are truly, truly blessed to finally be free.
And we were actually talking about movies the other day with Queen Romana when she had mentioned the Tomorrow War.
Yes.
And all of these movies are there, and they're showing us the truth, but we don't believe that it is.
Yeah.
So
I know sometimes when you get into a conversation or hear Queen Romana with her royal decree or a new thing, it's just like, it just blows you away. It's like, wow.
And I must say one thing that I was corrected with Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana. I always used to say, it's a great time to be alive. And she, Queen Romana, corrected me and said, you have always been alive. So that being said is that our soul lives forever. Who ever explained to us? I want to lead into something about this.
Mm-hmm.
We were taught from a very young age to fear death. And everything that went along with it. But it was also by design, so it was a moneymaker,
Mm-hmm.
right? And with myself losing a child and not knowing what I know, I don't know if I really could have handled that, because I really feel for the parents that have had their child abducted or kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know where that child went, and they suffer every day. And it was all by design. It didn't just harmful for the child, it was harmful for the whole family unit, because everyone suffered. Everyone. And with my knowledge of knowing that the soul lives forever, I know that my son's with me every day, and I actually have conversations with him, and that makes it really wonderful for me.
Right.
But I feel for I know nurse friends that have lost their VIPs, and they never, ever, ever get over it. And because they have access to working with the doctor or the pharmacist and working in the hospital, so many of them turn to drugs.
Yeah.
And there's no going back from
Mhm.
that, because it soothes them,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to stay like that. They don't want to realize that the VIP's never coming home again.
And it's so profound and powerful to realize that Queen Romana always taught us about detaching, and she's always taught us about being true to ourselves, and to know that we do live forever, that we are living beings constantly, and we live forever. Like, this is just a meat sack.
Yes, and we've had
As they say
different timelines,
Mhm.
and it's just, it's hard to wrap your mind
Mhm.
around it. But once you start thinking about it, and with all of our discussions that we have with Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana, we can sit around and we
Mhm.
discuss things with her, and especially with the detachment and the suppressed technologies and what's happening today in the world and in the Kingdom of Canada. We just have a wealth of knowledge, and I am so grateful that
Mhm.
I am alive here.
And that was the word I was missing, was our spiritual contract that each one of us chose. Queen Romana always stresses that we chose when we were to leave this world. We already knew what day we were going to go. We already agreed to this. So, and it's more of a glorious and exciting time when someone passes on. It's not actually something to be sad. Like, we're sad, of course, because we miss that individual and sharing
The physical.
right, their lives with them. But we are so blessed to have every single person that we were blessed to have in our lives, and to cherish that, and to release them back into their spiritual contract, and know that we are growing as Homo sapiens, and we really contribute a lot to the world and to everybody, so that we can evolve.
And not to hold back that
Mhm.
soul.
Yeah.
By grieving and burying and all of those different things that we have grown up with. So to know that the soul lives forever is just such a freeing concept for me.
And with med beds and with everything we have, we get to experience this world in a whole other beauty, and in Queen Romana's timeline. And it's an eternity of peace on earth with Queen Romana. It's not just 1,000 years, or a short period of time. Queen Romana is making sure that every single royal decree is here to protect our next generations to come
Under
forward.
natural law.
And divine karma. And we are all being under a forensic audit. Every single one of us are actually being audited, as you want to say,
Yes.
because we're ascending. We're letting go of everything that was holding on to us and holding us back, so that our children's children can be free of all the hexes and curses and everything else that was put upon us. So we are the ones that are helping them be able to experience this with Queen Romana's help. Because I mean, I would never have known half of the stuff I know without Queen Romana, and it is truly amazing to understand where we have come from and her history.
Yes, and ever since the first time I watched a video of Queen Romana back in May of, what was it, 21, it just totally resonated with me, and I felt so connected. And when I had the opportunity to go to Ottawa with the first team that went with her, I was totally blessed. It was an experience of a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And then also to be able to come back and be on the team as the minister of well, I just can't explain how proud I am.
And we are so grateful for everything that you do here. And I see how hard you work all the time, and the whole team. And I am so grateful Queen Romana has such a bliss team to help her get through this, and to help all IAMs to get to,
It's all about love,
right? Unconditional love. Like
unconditional love.
We are all different human beings, or Homo sapiens, and we have all different trades and quirks, and we're all going through our ascension symptoms, and we're all going through stuff. But I mean, this team that Queen Romana has beside her has really, really not only helped the Kingdom of Canada and all the IAMs, but to fulfill this, we wouldn't been able to do it without every single one of you. So I personally am very grateful for your sacrifice. And
I don't call it a sacrifice. It's a gift for me to be here. And I want to say another thing about love.
Mm-hmm.
My son was 20 when he left. And he told me before he left, he says, "Ma, it's all about love." Mm. And his favorite saying was, now I have to get it correct here, is, "When the power of love overtakes the love of power, then the world will be truly at peace." And I put this on his little card for his funeral. Mm-hmm. And the day that we had one of our ministers' meetings, and Queen Romana quoted that same saying, it resonated with me, and I knew that I am where I'm supposed to be and where I will be right now. Mm-hmm. So that was a confirmation for me that I was in the right place at the right time, mm-hmm, for the right reason, the same as we are today. Mm-hmm. To talk about love and our special VIPs that I've always had a love for children. I loved the elders, I loved the children, and I loved the pets. I didn't care too much for the ones in between. So I hung out with the pets and the kids and the olders. I
can relate, right? No, I totally get that.
So, to sit with an older IAM and listen to their stories, and it doesn't matter how many times they tell you the story. Mm-hmm. They're proud of what they've come through. Right. And without them and their teachings, we wouldn't be where we are today, and we mm-hmm. wouldn't even know what we know today.
It's true, because my papa taught me a lot of stuff, and I'm very grateful for him. And the one thing he always taught me that I loved the most is that he said, if your government says it's for the goodness of your health, run like hell. Don't believe them. So,
And
I
that's
took
true with
that,
that.
right? It took me,
And my father always said to me, don't take me to the hospital because that's where people die.
mhm,
And I thought, as a nurse, wow. But
right?
see, that is really true. It is a place to die.
Right, it is. It was health kill system, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was a corporation. It wasn't designed to heal us or our children, like the sick kids hospitals and everything that they were doing there. So I mean, it really is shocking when we learn how much the children have suffered in this world, and how much like school has made them suffer. So I know parents feel that they might not have the education, or they might, oh, well, I only have a grade 9. How am I going to teach my children? Well, Queen Romana has made sure that every town, and that we're going to have a community center. And it's going to be designed so that all the children in the whole entire town, all the moms and dads, and everybody is welcome to come to this community center. And we'll actually grow our children as a community. This is not something that we're doing all by ourselves.
Yes.
We are doing this as a community because we are all family in the Kingdom of Canada. We are all brought here and Queen Romana, we're going to be able to have a community center so that Queen Romana can go anywhere in the Kingdom of Canada at any time and stop in and see the children of the Kingdom of Canada. So isn't that exciting?
That's really exciting. And we will have IMs that will teach our VIPs. Like, for example, I would teach VIPs about chickens because I love chickens, and I used to call it Chicken 101. And I had VIPs from the cities and wherever they would come to. I even had VIPs from Germany come to my little chicken farm area to learn about chickens, and I taught them Chicken 101. I even taught them how to hold a chicken and how to put a chicken to sleep so you can hold it. So it was really excited.
That'd be fun. You're gonna have to teach me that.
I'll teach you. Maybe we'll get chickens here.
Yeah, that'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
And so even the community center would have like a huge kitchen, like a massive kitchen. That family that cooks together stays together type of thing, right?
Yes.
So we can teach each other how to can.
That's a lost art.
Right? That is a very lost art. And canning is the best preservative way of keeping healthy food for individuals instead of having it built and made in cans in the shelves. Because when we go into a grocery store, we already know anything in the middle aisles are all junk, and nothing is good for us in there. And it all has everything that harms us, and chemicals and all sorts of things. So when we make our own food and we teach the children how to grow their own food, how to preserve and how to live off the grid. And so we will have the community center to do all this so that that we're learning it together. So if there is a child that wants to go to space or wants to know some sort of engineering science that I wouldn't even know how to do, but there's people that we would have guest teachers come in and different facilities there so that it has a bigger room for the children to experience in instead of just in your little living room. But I mean, there's the basics needs that all families can teach each other, like how to read and write, and we need to learn how to not cast spells anymore. So I believe our English language is going to change a lot drastically.
Yes. I think there'll be quite a few changes.
So we're all going to learn together. Like, this is not just about, oh, this is all on one parent, like, and then they take it all on, like, oh no, I don't know anything. No. This is, Queen Romana says that it takes a country, the Kingdom of Canada as a whole, to raise every single child in this
yes, our VIPs,
right? And there's 7.3 million children under the age of 18 in the Kingdom of Canada.
7.3 million.
Yep. And there's from the ages of 18 to 24, our youth is approximately 4 million. So they're the ones that are going to start going into to find out where they're wanting to go in the workforce and how they want to contribute back to the kingdom. So this is so that 7.3 million children,
is approximately what? A
a
quarter?
20%,
A quarter or 20%?
20% of the
Population of the Kingdom of Canada.
Yep.
20%.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's very important that we have everything that they need and deserve, and give them the respect that they deserve, and all their wants and desires, so they can be anything they want to be.
And this will be the first generation that can have those opportunities to have everything and to be whatever they desire.
And truly express who they are.
Really. And once getting through a med bed to restore their DNA.
Oh, we're we're so blessed. It's all I keep thinking. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
I wanted to read that royal decree again. And I think I'll read it again and again, because there's so many I ams that are suffering, and they're looking for hope because they're suffering for so long. And they say, when are we going to have a med bed? When am I going to be able to walk again? When am I going to have this? When am I going to have that? Well, now we have the Royal Decree 235, and we also have a date on it, which is on or before November the 5th. And remember the 5th of November. And November the 5th is also Her Royal Majesty Queen Romana's birthday.
Yep, her birthday. Isn't that amazing?
It's so amazing.
And they would be dancing in the streets.
What a celebration.
Right? And I am so grateful to be a part of all of this and to be here. And
I'm so grateful that you're here and that you could come on and have your ministry session with me today.
Thank you very much. I am very honored. And
thank you.
I would like to touch on from 3 to 5 of and this is where we're going to get into a little bit of the sensitive part more so, because everything is it's exciting, but we really need to focus on the children of not being able to have families. And so number 3 is every baby boy and baby girl from the age of 0 to 19 years has a home and are living with their bloodline. Number 4, orphan baby boy and baby girl has a home and living with their next of bloodline and home education. Number 5, adoption of children granted only to family bloodline and living within the Kingdom of Canada. This adoption parent must reside full-time in the Kingdom of Canada until the children are of age of 24 of age. So this is very important. When we talk about CAS and how they have taken the
Explain
children.
to the IMs what CAS?
CAS is I can't remember the actual at the moment.
Is it where they take the children?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's a short form for because the safety, because I have 3 royal decrees, and Queen Romana touched on it, as well as the this royal decree number 225, safety and security care, protection and funding of the Kingdom of Canada's children and youth in the care homes, foster homes, local community and authorities of federal, provincial, and territory cities. And there's the so CAS is what happens when someone calls, and it's not even, they believe that it was a government-owned company, but it's not. It's an actual corporation, and it's all on its own. So the government of the fake government of Canada, the corporation, the Corporation of Canada, they what they did was contracted out other people to take care of the Kingdom of Canada's children. And so they could do whatever they wanted to do. So the foster care was individually owned. They weren't actually owned by any, by the fake government that we that we thought were helping us. They weren't. They had the funding. They helped them with funding, but they didn't help them. They didn't have a set rules or wanted to know where they are, because though that way they could traffic our children in the system. So, when you put your child in school, that is, they have pictures of your children twice a year. They know where your children live. They know everything about your children, their health, everything.
They even have their fingerprints.
Yep.
Because that's part of kindergarten. They have their fingerprints.
Mm-hmm.
And then they let them do casting of their hand, and they let them do little stories about my family and who is who and what we are and where we live. So it's all by design, and it was indoctrination.
So then they had this, it was like Amazon for children,
Yes.
so they could go through it and say, oh, well, we want, blue-haired, blonde, whatever, and they could look up exactly what age they wanted.
What is a blue-haired blonde?
Blonde, yeah, blue-haired blonde. Oh my goodness,
A
blue-eyed
blonde.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
I
great,
know.
right?
Let's fix that. I'm just lightening up this situation,
Because it's a hard one, and it's so hard for me to even talk about, because
I'm having a hard time talking about it myself. That's why I wanted to bring a little lightning in.
Thank you. Because it's very difficult to realize how much control and how much they have hurt the VIPs of the VIPs. So if you were blessed enough to grow in a family that has never been separated, had all your needs met, so you've never had to go hungry, you've never had to, want something, that everything was provided for you, was very, very rare. It's like 1%.
It was very rare.
Very rare. Most parents and most families are separated. They because they didn't want the children to be they didn't want the children to be indoctrinated. So it's very hard. And they wanted the children to be indoctrinated in their system, so they were trying to separate all the families and to make it so that we weren't growing as a family unit. And they wanted the children in the system so they knew what child they needed to traffic. And the CAS was their provider. So what would happen was they would call the CAS and say, oh, well, we have a problem here. You need to go in and take these children. And so they would take the children out of that family, and that's what Queen Romana's royal decree is that number 17, Queen Romana says the removal of children from homes is unlawful. So no more will a child be taken out of a home.
Could you imagine how they felt being ripped out of their home?
I can't, because
even if it was a bad situation, it's still home.
Mm-hmm. And they don't know any different. No child knows that they are going through something that they shouldn't be going through, because they are living it 24/7. They might feel uncomfortable, or it might feel like, scary or something, but in general, most parents don't want to hurt their children. They're not out to hurt their children. They just have a lot of issues themselves, and they need help and unconditional love. And that is what my job is now, as the Minister of Children and Youth, is to make sure that they have everything they need to be good parents.
Oh, and you and I will be working so close together.
Right? Because it's very important for these parents, because I had a cousin, and he was 35 when he passed away of drug overdose. And he left a little girl behind, and she's the most beautiful little thing. And we always, as a family, my aunts and my cousins and everything, we always take her in and hang out and make sure she knows her family. But
some of the VIPs don't have that, though.
But my cousin loved his daughter so much, and he was trying to get help. And the old system was like, well, you have to pay $2,000 to get into rehab, and you have to be clean for 3 weeks before you get into this rehab.
Okay, so that brings in the royal decree, I am cure.
Right.
And it's a huge decree. I'm not actually sure what number there is right now, but I'm sure that the IMs watching can check to see what it is. But it would take that, was it a cousin?
Mm-hmm.
All the way through the steps to get help, to get a job, to look after the child. It would support the whole family and the one that has the problem, and put them back into society where they feel good about themselves. That's another royal decree under natural law that will help all of this drug problems that have been
Right,
caused.
because these families are being torn apart. These children are losing their parents so young and becoming orphans because of the drug overdoses, and not because their childhood and their indoctrination. And it's just like this vicious cycle that we truly are so grateful that it stops now.
Oh.
You know, and her story,
It's ended.
It's ended.
So it is. It's ended.
It's so it is, right? Because we no more.
No.
And we will not put up with this anymore.
No,
like,
and
we're done. We're done with these children hurting. We're done seeing our loved ones suffer. I can't imagine, because I see my aunt, and she has another son that's out there too. Like, she lost her one, and her other son is still on the streets, and he has children too. Like, you know, and he had his children taken away from him. Now they're in foster care, but he never ever got the help that he needed. And my aunt had 7 children, and 2 of them are, you know, and because my family is so close, my aunts and uncles are like my moms and dads. They're not just my aunts and uncles that you see on holidays. No, we all lived in the same community. We all lived like a block away from each other. We were raised together. And so this is why it's so important to me that I know how important family is. I know how important community is by living in a small town and knowing everybody that was in there. And I want to share this knowledge with the whole kingdom.
yes.
And I know how important it is to Queen Romana to really stress on how it is to raise a family.
And so that brings me back to last week's discussion. We had safety, security, and sovereignty in the Kingdom of Canada under Her Royal Majesty, Queen Romana Dijelo, and she is leading us out of that, I'm going to say the word, cacistocracy.
Good job. Right?
So
it
you
is.
can't stress that enough, that it's over now. That's the old system. It's done.
It is done. And, you know, because of living in it and seeing the pain of my family and seeing the pain of different IMs, and I feel things so acutely that I am so grateful that even the starvation that all the IMs have been suffering, like in the children and suffering of starvation, we have no idea how many children go hungry all around the world. Like, it's millions and millions of children that die every day of starvation. That should never have happened. And so with Queen Romana's royal decrees, this is no longer going to happen to us. And I can't stress enough how much the med beds are going to help.
So
I have to bring it back to the med
I
beds
know, we
because
have
I'm
to bring it back to the med beds.
I get so emotional that, okay, I have to think of the good things, because, you know, when we get back into the old corporation and it is so hard, because, you know, no one was well educated enough. Like, we were educated, we were programmed. There was no education. We were all programmed, and we had to break free from the programming and to really truly understand who we are as IMs, and what Queen Romana is truly offering the Kingdom of Canada, what she has given us through the royal decrees, how much she has saved us, not only from speaking Chinese, but she has saved the whole world.
Absolutely.
Because if Canada is first, everything has to follow. We cannot stop all this cacistocracy without Queen Romana. And if we truly understand who Queen Romana is and what she is offering to our children, what she's offering to us. And I have to look at the good in all of this, because to know how many people have fallen in the system, and how many parents may have not have made great choices in their vaccinations choices, and they have harmed their children in ways that maybe they didn't understand at the time, because they were so programmed. They were so programmed to think that our fake government was to save us and to protect us, because Queen Amanda says that 75% of our own thoughts are not our own, that they are trying to constantly program us, even when we're not indoctrination camps. They're constantly trying to for us to manifest their lives. But once we truly think from our hearts and truly get connected to our divine creator, then we are breaking free of all of that cackerstocracy.
We've already broke free.
We have, definitely. I see it every day in multiple ways. Yes. and walking even in community.
Like, I know that you mentioned that the parents didn't realize that they were actually harming their children by getting the vaccination, but they felt that they were saving them from something that could harm them. But it also works another way. There are children that have had their parents vaccinated so that they wouldn't get harmed, and those were our precious ancestors that have been harmed by their own children. And I have that with my auntie.
Right.
And she passed, and she was such a sweet lady and multitasker. She could watch the news and knit slippers and do a crossword all at the same time. And I loved it, because I spent a day with her once a week. And once she had her second, she just turned into a zombie on me, and that was the end of it. And they wouldn't even let me come there anymore to visit her. Isn't that sad? So it really, it's very hurtful what happened.
It's very, very hurtful. Like, I just wanted to find my, here it is, like the 59,000 Canadian nationals and youth across the kingdom are living in private care, and more than 30,000 VIPs are waiting for adoption.
30,000.
Yep, so 59,000 children altogether are in foster care.
59,000
children
in foster care
right now that are in private foster cares that usually fall through the cracks, because there's 39 VIPs that never get adopted out. 30,000 VIPs that never get adopted
and
out.
Stay in that system.
Stay in that system their whole lives.
And never get the chance to live in a real loving family.
And this is where Queen Romana has put into place that there will be the Kingdom of Canada homes. And this is where we will, as a community, raise these children, not just the foster care. There's no foster care anymore. These are our children. They're all Queen Romana's children. So if they're Queen Romana's children, they are our children. We follow Queen Romana's lead and in all of this, and knowing that no child will ever feel unloved, unwanted, or hurt in any way. That I personally will make sure that every child in the Kingdom of Canada will be protected. Just need a minute. Because I've seen so much devastation with the old corrupt cackerstocracy in the system. And I have lived it personally, and I have seen personally how children are so innocent and so pure and so divine, and you feel their energy and their love and how much they wanted to control and destroy that in every child. And I will not let that ever happen again.
And thank you. And I've also worked with those systems and I've seen it myself.
Right? And when you know how horrible it is to see these children unloved, they have so much love to give.
And how horrible it is when they confide in you what has happened to them. You just can't fathom that ever happened to that sweet little kid.
Mm-hmm. And then people just like, it was so sad because a lot of people have been hurt and they can't deal with it, so they sweep it under the rug, or they try not to talk about it, or it's like what they always call the skeletons in the closet,
Mm-hmm.
or then they victimize the person, so then they have a pity party, but it's not. It's a whole other realm. So I am so grateful that we have med beds to heal these children.
Yes.
But not only that, we'll have med beds to heal the parents.
Yes.
And we will have, so when these children go into the Kingdom of Canada homes, as I'm trying to find all their bloodlines and all their families, and to make sure that they do go with responsible and loving families, Queen Romana made a royal decree that was massive, right?
Yes.
The 1225 that I already mentioned, but it really protects the children. And not only does it, when I read it, I almost felt like, whoa, like my parents were totally unfit. I mean, I kind of almost feel unfit, not that you are, but I love that she put it so high, the bar. Because you know what? We were so indoctrinated and we were so manipulated of how we were supposed to raise our children and how we were supposed to let the system raise them. I homeschool my children now, but there was a time that they were in school. Like, I put them in, take them out, put them, trying to figure out what was the best way, because I knew it was wrong and I knew it was bad, but I didn't know how bad it was. And then when I realized how bad indoctrination those camps were at school, I was like, no more, right? Like, no more. So, and
I wished I would have had the opportunity to home educate my children.
Yeah, I believe a lot of people feel that way. Like they really do feel that they can't for so many reasons.
There's a lot of reasons, and
Right.
most of them is financial.
Yep. And once we get that royal decree, activated and get all this cackerstocracy out of the way.
Well, I believe it's all
Queen Romana,
activated.
Yes, it is.
It's all activated. We're in the new era. We're in Queen Romana's timeline.
Definitely.
And I can't stress that enough. And it's safety, security, and sovereignty for the Kingdom of Canada. And Queen Romana is not going to take any of this cackerstocracy
She's
anymore.
I love the firecracker in her. She gets stuff done. Her Royal Majesty.
I love the firecracker in you.
Oh, thank you. We are going to get this done, right? We're not. We're here to protect the children.
We are,
and that is all the ministers. Every single one of the ministers are so important, because they are lifting up the kingdom to be for the VIPs of the VIPs. And so that when they are able to be, get their education and able to be back in the system, or making their little stores out of their own home, or wherever they want, Queen Romana says that we can all have our own little business if we want to. And that these children are able to express themselves and what they enjoy and to learn, right? And hands-on. And really, it's not just about teaching the children, it's about having hands-on experience and not just being stuffed into a classroom. It's about going on a magnet train
and across the Kingdom of Canada,
right?
Which is so vast that we don't even know how vast it is, because it's been withheld from us how vast it is. It's got Kingdom of Canada has a larger landmass than the USA.
It really does.
It does.
I know.
And look at our population. 40 million compared to 380 million. So can you imagine how congested it is there compared to
to know that this is the most important time in all of her story.
I agree.
And we are so blessed. I can't say it enough.
Well,
I really
can't say it enough either.
So so with these homes that you can have a forensic audit on them at any time. That anyone that is running these schools, because Queen Romana did make a group that we will need help for to help with these community centers and help with the Kingdom of Canada homes for these children. So a lot of people have already put their names in that said
and
that
they'll be completely audited to make sure that our VIPs have the best of every best thing that there is there for them right now. So
they'll be treated as they are, royalty. Every prince and princess will be treated like royalty, the VIP of the VIPs of the VIPs. And that is also in these Kingdom of Canada homes, and as well as with individual parents and as homes and in the community and the centers. And I am very grateful for Queen Romana and really stressing what needs to happen and for the med beds, and so that anybody that's watching these children will be in med beds, and so they can be healed of any discretions, and that we can also make sure that our children are safe in these homes. So all the children that are going to be, so that no child will be forgotten, left behind, or there will be no more child trafficking.
Never again. And I've enjoyed having you here today with me so much, but you do know that we have a few minutes left.
The time goes by so fast, doesn't it?
So maybe I could have you come back on and we can delve into this a little bit more.
Yes, I like that.
And is there any closing that you would like to bring forth today? And then if you do come back on, we could go into the rest of your ideas and royal decrees and what we will be doing for the VIPs and working as a team, as ministers.
Right, like there is so much, and I know, because I even have a whole bunch of things about the ministers of how with each individual,
how to work with each individual,
and the children, and how they're going to benefit from all the resources and all the, even the fishery. Like, we're never going to go hungry. Like, and even our borders and everything will be so protected that we'll never have to worry. Like, we'll always be protected, and we'll always feel safe in our own country. And we are going to be able to go from one side of the country to the other and be able to learn about, because how many people have only ever stayed in their home, like in their hometown, or only visited
who
for
had the opportunity to travel
or the
because
money.
it was financially not able, because you had to keep being a slave and working.
How wonderful is that to give hands on to when you're talking about BC and the great beautiful mountains? How let's go for a field trip with our children to show them the mountains and show them
the mountains and the rivers and everything that's there
and the resources, and to really have hands on.
And so we also have a minister of food and water. His Excellency Chris, and I always muck up his last name.
Me too.
But he will be coming on as the minister, and where the food and the water will all be provided so that there will never be any more hunger.
And it'll be all pure, like pure water, and not with all the chemicals put in it, and pure food without all the junk put into it. So our children will be able to grow without the illnesses, and be able to be whole again where we're supposed to be, and clean off their pineal glands, and and really be connected.
Oh, and that's another topic. We're
talking
about pineal glands. And I know we could probably sit here and talk all day, but I'm we'll be bringing this to a close, and I so appreciate that you have been here with me today, and we got through it without having a real crying fest.
Right.
And we are emotionally connected to this. And I want to thank all of the IAMs in the Kingdom of Canada, the IAMs around the world that took the time out to join us today in this session with Her Excellency Sara-marie Thompson as the Minister of Youth. I thank you. And as we bring it to a closing, we welcome comments. We have a website that you can leave your comments, request maybe what you'd like to hear more about. But as we leave you today and look forward to another session with Her Excellency, we leave you with peace, love, and prosperity. Have a wonderful day and see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.